Hi, Jean. We're live. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you, Mirit. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm used to having these live sessions a little bit later in the evening. So for me, this is nice to have it actually during the day, so to speak,
With some natural sunlight.
with natural
Good.
sunlight. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Okay. So we are exactly on time. What do you suggest we do? Should we start on time? Should we wait a few more minutes? What do you think would be best?
I think we should start on time.
Okay, great. So I will introduce myself to the audience and we'll take it from there. And then you'll introduce yourself and we'll take it from there.
Super.
So, hello, everyone. My name is Mirit Hoffman. I'm an attorney since 1996. I own a private practice in Bet Shemesh. I'm also a STEP member, which is a Global Society of Trust and Estate Practitioners. My main focus is estate planning and elder law, and that means preparing wills and enduring power of attorney, trusts, advising on estate and tax issues relating to people who have dual US and Israeli citizenship. I decided to focus my practice on estate planning because I believe that we all work very hard to accumulate our wealth. And at the end of the day, we want to make sure that we are the ones to decide how we wanted to bequeath it. And also, I think we all want to live our life making our own choices till the very end and not having someone else make it for us. And there are various legal tools that can help us do exactly that, which includes preparing a will and enduring power of attorney and advance medical directives. Since I come from a strong background of US and Israeli taxation, I have a holistic approach to issues concerning both jurisdictions, and I can look at the bigger picture with regarding concerns that involve people that have dual citizenship. Today, I have a very special guest with me, Jeanne Lankin. Hi, Jeanne. Please introduce yourself.
I'm a clinical social worker with over 30 years of experience in the field and about 20 years working with older adults. My family and I made Aliyah 3 years ago from New Jersey, and I still have a New Jersey license there and in Israel. I have a private practice here in Jerusalem, and I see clients ranging from age 18 all the way up through upper 90s. But as you and I have talked about in the past, we both have this special passion for working with older adults.
True.
And I have a special place in my heart for them. And I've really focused on this calling for many years. So in terms of services that I provide for older adults, I provide therapy in my office or at their homes, whether they live in an assisted living, independent living facility, or in their own homes. I deal with a variety of issues. Some may be caregivers, some may be going through grief, coping with chronic illness, trauma, problems with adult children and grandchildren, or marital issues or other relationship problems. I also provide case management services for my older adults, and I advocate for them, particularly if their families live abroad or are unable to care for them themselves. Yeah. And I advocate for them with health care and getting appropriate services. And during this time of the pandemic, in addition to office sessions, my younger clients and some of my older adults' families benefit also from teletherapy sessions, both here and abroad. But really my goal and my passion is to help adults navigate the inevitable changes that occur in all of our lives. And I try and do it with professionalism, hopefully some skill, and compassion.
So compassion.
Yeah. So today I wanted to talk to Mirit about a case, and then perhaps we can see where your work as an elder care lawyer would fit in helping this individual and his family.
Okay.
So I'm going to talk to you about a client. His name is Chaim. And he's a 79-year-old widower. He lives in Jerusalem. His wife, Rosa, died about 3 years ago from colon cancer. He has 2 adult children, a son who's 45, married with 3 children, and a daughter who is divorced for many years with 2 children. After the daughter divorced, Chaim and Rosa bought a house for her so that she could live in it with her children. And the understanding was at that time that one day it would ultimately be hers. So let's just get a little bit more into the backstory. Chaim has always been a very hardworking businessman. And during his career as an accountant, he made quite a good living. And he was able to afford an apartment in Jerusalem as well as a vacation home. The couple traveled extensively, particularly after they retired, and they enjoyed a very comfortable life. I first was introduced to them when Rosa got sick, when she was first diagnosed with cancer. And she would always complain that Chaim was just too good, too gullible when it came to people approaching him for favors or for charity donations. And she was concerned about his nature. She was the real powerhouse in the relationship, and Chaim was always laid back and, by his own admission, passive since he was a young child. Chaim and Rosa's children never got along since their teenage years, and it was described to me as something more than sibling rivalry. When Rosa became ill, their son hardly ever visited her. He was not overly involved in her medical care or treatment. The daughter, on the other hand, was involved in all aspects of her care, and she would accompany her parents on doctor's visits, consults, chemotherapy, and radiation appointments. And she was a frequent visitor at their home, providing a lot of emotional support and practical support, and would visit her mom when she had to be hospitalized. She actually was the one who convinced her mother to go for a medical checkup after she found out that her mom had not seen a doctor in 20 years. She had a little bit of a phobia about that, and she was complaining of severe abdominal pain. And after a shocking diagnosis of stage 4 colon cancer, the family went into major action mode. And Rosa was able to live for another few years with aggressive surgery, chemo, radiation, etc. She ultimately went on hospice, and I worked with the couple to help them accept this new stage in their lives, to help Rosa accept her mortality, and to help Chaim prepare for this next stage. After Rosa's death, as the family was sitting Shiva, the daughter went into her parents' bedroom, and she went into her mom's jewelry box and stole 4 very, very valuable pieces of jewelry. When I say stole, she went behind her father's back. After the Shiva was over, she told her father what she had done, and she said, you know, Mom and I talked about it, and she said one day that jewelry would be for me. But there was never any documentation. It was never in a will. Chaim was not apprised of this information. So you can imagine what happened when the son found out about the stolen jewelry. He demanded that his sister give at least half of it to him for his daughter, his wife. The daughter refused. As a result of this, the 2 adult children have been not speaking to each other for 4 years. Each one has been trying to influence their father to cut the other one out of his will. Now, as Chaim's therapist, I helped him through a year of bereavement issues as well as ongoing stress related to the discord between his adult children. He went through an adjustment period, and then finally he decided that he wanted to begin dating. Went on dating websites, and ultimately ended up with a divorced woman with 10 years his junior, with 4 adult children, all of them with very complicated emotional issues and practical issues. and they were very, very needy and demanding. Around this time, I noticed Chaim was starting to slip a little. He was repeating himself, and he didn't seem as sharp or as put together as he usually had in the past. And I suggested that he go to his doctor for an evaluation, which he did, and the doctor referred him to a neurologist. He had a full workup, and it was determined that he had mild cognitive impairment. And the neurologist put him on a medication to slow down the progression of the disease.
Right.
Chaim and his girlfriend continued to date, and one day I received a call from the girlfriend, and she said, you know what, I'm really concerned about Chaim. I want a joint session with you, and I want a safe place to talk about it. She claimed that Chaim was a completely different person. In addition to the repetition, he missed social cues. When they would go out with her friends, he just wasn't able to participate fully, and she was starting to feel embarrassed and uncertain. She knew about his evaluation, and the session really focused on helping her accept the reality of what was going on with Chaim and determining whether she wanted to continue with their relationship. They did continue to date. They maintained separate residences. I soon became aware that the girlfriend was asking Chaim for different amounts of money. For example, for a used car for herself, for money for her son, to use her his apartment in a vacation area for her daughter who had recently gotten divorced, etc., etc., etc. And I kind of got the picture that at this point, the girlfriend was really using Chaim for his money. I gently addressed this with Chaim, and he denied it. I asked him about his will and who was managing his finances. He said, I made a new will after Rosa died, and my children are my beneficiaries. He also asserted that he was continuing to pay his bills as he was an accountant. He was perfectly capable of doing so. I had my concerns. I suggested the help of a financial manager. He flat out refused. In addition, he told me that both his children were pressuring him on a regular basis to pay for various expenses. For example, camps for their children, a bar mitzvah party, college, trips abroad, etc. It was at this point that I suggested to Chaim that he go to an elder care attorney to get the specific advice and counsel that he really needed at this juncture. And thankfully, he agreed. So I have some questions for you, Mirit, about how an elder care lawyer would function in this type of a situation. So sure. I guess my first question is, Chaim is vulnerable to his girlfriend's and children's manipulation, given his nature and his recent decline. Can an elder care lawyer be helpful if Chaim himself does not feel he's being manipulated?
Okay, so it's a very delicate issue in general, but in this case, it seems to be an even more delicate issue, taking into consideration that Chaim was a businessman. He was an accountant. He feels still very capable of doing things on his own, and doesn't seem to like people telling him what to do or asking or getting help. So the fact that he agreed to speak to a lawyer is a really big thing. And I think the lawyer needs to tread very gently with him, not to push him too much. So I would try and if I was a lawyer, I would ask very gently, some sort of way, does Chaim have a will? Because the will would basically be able to show the lawyer what he's bequeathing and to whom, and then we could see if the girlfriend has been putting pressure on him or not, since we had assumed that Chaim had prepared a will, giving everything to his kids, as you had mentioned, I think, earlier. So we would see if the will had been changed. That would give us a very good picture of what was going on. But obviously, Chaim has to agree to this. Now, it could well be that the first session, when Chaim is still checking out the lawyer and there hasn't been really a trust, he hasn't gained trust, the lawyer hasn't gained his trust, it could well be that Chaim will not agree to show him the will. He'll say, yes, I have a will and it's fine. I don't need help. Might need a few sessions to discuss various other topics, which, when you're an elder lawyer, you you figure out a way to maneuver your way through, to ask him if he has a will, and hopefully, you know, once he sees the will, then that would give us a very good picture of what's going on and if he is actually being manipulated or not.
So, but should Chaim draw up a new will that will safeguard the money that he has saved for his children?
Well, the question is, first of all, again, we understand that he does have a will. According to the story that he told you, at least, or according to what he's mentioned to you, his will actually gives the kids, bequeaths to the children. They are the sole beneficiaries, and hopefully that is the case. He can always change his will. The question is if he's considered still legally competent to do that. And since you mentioned that he was slipping, the only way to be able to, for him to prepare a new will is if a doctor would assess him and write out a medical report stating that although he is slipping, he's still enough cognitive control to be able to understand what he's doing and to prepare a new will. And once he does and prepares a new will, then that would, you know, that, and hopefully would be the last will, and that would prevail all other wills.
Okay, thank you. So how should an enduring or durable power of attorney be handled at this point when the adult children are not communicating and are very much out for themselves?
Okay, so let's go back a little bit. Let's discuss terminology. What actually is an enduring power of attorney? So in the US, I think it's called a durable power of attorney or an enduring power of attorney, and that's very common because it's something that's been going on for a while. Mm-hmm. Here in Israel, it's a relatively new document. It's only since the middle of 2017. And it's basically a legal document that allows you to plan for your future for a time when you won't be mentally competent of making decisions on your own and you need help. So through this document, you actually appoint a power of attorney of your choice. It could be one person, it could be a few people, and you ask them to carry out specific wishes according to specific instructions that you had also mentioned in the document. Now, a durable power of attorney is very, very different from a regular power of attorney. Regular power of attorney is something that a lot of people deal with, and it's quite common. People give power of attorneys for various reasons. For instance, you know, this week I'm taking my car to do a test, and I'm going to give the garage where I take it to a power of attorney for them to deal with it on my behalf. Some people give power of attorneys for others to take mail from the post office. The thing with a regular power of attorney is once somebody is considered not capable or not mentally competent, then this regular power of attorney ceases to exist. The enduring power of attorney or durable power of attorney only comes into effect at that time, meaning although we had prepared it earlier when we were full cognitive capabilities, it doesn't actually come into effect now. It only comes into effect when we're no longer capable of making decisions on our own. So basically, when the regular power of attorney dies, the enduring power of attorney comes alive, so to speak. So that's regarding what is a enduring power of attorney. Now, the question is, again, first and foremost, is Chaim mentally competent enough at this stage to prepare an enduring power of attorney? And again, that is something like a will. A doctor would need to assess him. There are certain tests that a doctor does to make an assessment and write an actual report stating that he is still a full cognitive control or of enough cognitive control to be able to prepare and understand what he's doing regarding an enduring power of attorney. That's very, very important. Let's say he can, just for the sake of this case, to make it easier, regarding the children. Look, it would be far better if the children do get along. However, if they don't get along, I'm assuming they still want, both of them, what's best for their father. And considering that, I think it's still possible to prepare an enduring power of attorney, and we could put some safeguards. For instance, we could of course discuss it with Chaim, but if Chaim would agree, we could add that if a certain amount of money or above a certain amount of money needs to be withdrawn from the account, then both children have to agree to that. Or, you know, there could be a third party, not the children, another person who would supervise their actions. So these are things that a lawyer who prepares an enduring power of attorney discusses with the client. In this case, Chaim gives him all the options, walks him through the options, and then lets Chaim make the choice of what he would like. If he does put these safeguards in, then it would help the children because they know that one cannot take out money without the other's consent. And usually, you know, it helps getting along because usually we're talking about money. It's a financial thing that they don't get along with, like you mentioned with the jewelry. Also, from my experience, in a lot of cases when a tragedy occurs, in this case, if, God forbid, Chaim does lose his mental capacity and the enduring power of attorney does need to come into effect, children usually tend to put their differences aside and join forces for the common cause, which would be to take care of their father. And together, again, with the fact that Chaim had put some safeguards in the enduring power of attorney should help, you know, help everybody to actually work with this enduring power of attorney, although the children personally don't get along.
Okay, thank you. So it's a lot to absorb.
Yeah.
Is there a way that to create a will that cannot be changed by a future power of attorney? A superseding will that so that neither adult child can impact the other's inheritance?
Okay, so first of all, we're talking about two different things, just so we're aware. A will comes into effect when the person, you know, is no longer alive upon his death. An enduring power of attorney is something that comes into effect when the person is very much alive, however, has lost his mental capacity to take care of himself. Once an enduring power of attorney has come into effect, the people who are appointed as power of attorneys cannot prepare a will on behalf of the person that are appointed. So in our case, if Chaim's power of attorney had come into effect, whatever will he had prepared at the time is the will that would be probated upon his death. The children cannot prepare a will on his behalf now. And the idea behind it was basically to take care of the father so that, you know, the children who are now appointed, who have control over his financial issues, would not prepare a will which would not necessarily have been what he had wanted. So this way, everything stops. Once he's considered not capable, whatever will he had made, and that's it. They cannot prepare another will, a superseding will.
Okay. So how can Chaim be protected from his girlfriend and others as his cognitive decline will inevitably increase and Chaim will be more vulnerable to people with bad intentions, like scammers, identity theft, fraud, etc.?
Okay, so, you know, you mentioned that Chaim found it difficult to pay his bills electronically, although he did do it, but he found it a little bit challenging. So that would be something that maybe the kids very gently can suggest. You know, Dad, if you put us on the account as a power of attorney, it would help you because then we can help you pay bills electronically. We could relieve you of that duty. And we could also maybe help you with other financial things and, you know, let you not have to deal with it. That way, once they are on the account, it also helps them monitor what's going out of the account. And they can see if he's actually being exploited by this girlfriend financially or not. And if they are seeing that, they can approach him also very, very gently and, you know, discuss it with him. Ask him what's going on and just make sure he's aware of what he's doing.
So there's a lot more oversight.
Exactly, as an oversight.
So if you would, could you please speak about the differences with Israeli law related to power of attorney, medical, financial, and practical, as opposed to the US? Okay,
so I know in the US they have different documents for different matters. So there's a medical directive, there's a financial power of attorney, and there's a practical one for everyday use. In Israel, the enduring power of attorney actually includes all three issues. meaning personal everyday issues. For instance, taking care of quality of life. If somebody has, let's say, a special diet that needs to be attended to, or if somebody wants to live at home with an aide, that's considered a personal issue. Or I don't know, if somebody wants to go to a community event, those are personal matters. There's the financial issues, which is taking care of the bank account, investment account, being in touch with your accountant, with your financial advisor. And there's medical issues, which is, you know, taking care of the medical appointments or checkups, hospitalization if needed. Now, the enduring power of attorney in Israel takes care of all three issues. You can appoint one power of attorney to take care of all three matters. You can appoint a few, and you can also split it up. So if you have, let's say, 3 children, you can decide each child takes care of a different issue.
And would that be based on maybe area of expertise or strength?
Usually area expertise or strength, or, you know, it's very tricky because it really means that all children have to get along, because if one is only in charge of the financials and the others need to ask him, can you take out money for us to do so-and-so for dad or for mom, that means that they have to have very good communication between them.
Right.
So it's something to discuss and think about. A lot of people, you know, put all 3 children, let's say all children, whatever number it is, to deal with all matters and let them between themselves divide it up. But it gives the children much more flexibility because they can actually deal with everything.
Okay. So if Chaim does not make his children power of attorney, could you explain the guardianship process and how it works here in Israel?
Yeah. So if someone has lost his mental capacity and has not prepared enduring power of attorney, so nothing actually can come into effect, then the family needs to go through a guardian procedure. Means they need to apply to court to request to be appointed as guardians. It's a very bureaucratic, complicated procedure. And the courts are not keen with giving somebody guardianship, and they like to limit it by time or limited by matter, only things that are really, really necessary. When you file for such a request, you also need to file a medical opinion stating that the person has lost his mental capacity to a point where he needs somebody to be a guardian over his issues. Once it's requested, the court sends this request to be evaluated by the municipality social worker, meaning the social worker who lives in the same city where the person himself lives. She or he needs to prepare a report that could take between 3 or 4 months. The court gives that time for them to prepare a report, because preparing a report means you need to go sit with the person, find out information, find out if the family is actually taking care of the person, there's no abuse, God forbid, if everybody agrees to the appointment, if he's in a comfortable place. So this all takes time. And then the court usually looks at the evaluation and very much considers it before making its choice. And then once it decides to appoint somebody as guardian, the person who's appointed as a guardian has 30 days to submit a report to the Administrator General. In Hebrew, it's Apotropos HaKlali, and the report needs to show basically a list of the person's financial assets and his financial obligations. And a similar report would need to be filed every year thereafter. The idea is to make sure that the person who's dealing with the financials is not actually taking money out for himself, but actually taking care of the person who he had been appointed to. Also, with guardianship, every decision which is slightly out of the ordinary in the bank, for instance, I'll give you an example. The bank is used to a person taking out money for paying bills. But what happens if the person wants to take, there's a family party or a family gathering, and he wants to take out a higher sum in order to take this person with him up north for this family gathering that everybody's doing. The bank would say, wait, I don't understand why you need to take out so much money. This is out of the ordinary. Get me a court approval before I let you take out money. So it's really much more difficult and much more limited than an enduring power of attorney. Therefore, I always recommend my clients now, when they're fully capable, to prepare an enduring power of attorney, not so much even if they don't feel comfortable doing it, but really so that their family and their loved ones will have a much easier way of taking care of them if, God forbid, they get to a point where they're no longer of mentally capabilities.
So it's a tremendous gift that you're giving your children and grandchildren.
Yes, that's how I see it anyways. Okay, we have one question. I want to just address it very, very shortly because we're running out of time and I don't want to push this longer. But somebody asked us, how does one go about choosing this kind of attorney and what sorts of questions should they be asked? Okay, so the person who can prepare an enduring power of attorney is a qualified lawyer. Not every lawyer can prepare an enduring power of attorney. He needs to go through special qualifications by the Justice Department and by the Administrator General. So he needs to be somebody who's qualified. That's question A. And what sort of questions? I mean, it's just like every other attorney. The way, do you feel comfortable with him? Do you feel that he's asking you the right questions? Do you feel a connection with the lawyer? Because we're talking about a delicate subject and it's not just like, preparing a regular legal document. There's more sensitivity and there needs to be a kinder and a gentler approach. So it's really a question of who you feel more connected to when you choose a lawyer, like everything else.
Makes sense.
Okay, so, well, time flew by.
It did. It did.
This was very fun.
It was very informative, I think, for all of us.
Yes, well, I hope so. I hope we do it again soon with another one of your interesting cases.
I look forward to it. So I hope you have a good evening and
I want to hang on. So in the meantime, first of all, if anyone has any more questions, you're welcome to contact either of us. I just put our phone numbers down here on the bottom. And you can also write comments on the bottom of this live and also, contact us through our Facebook pages. So that's it. I wish everybody a good night. Have a wonderful evening.
Good night. And I wish everybody a happy and a healthy new year. And hopefully we'll be in a different time soon.
Absolutely. Shana Tova for everybody. Absolutely.
Shana Tova.
Bye.
Bye.